Hey, everyone, and welcome back. We're doing a deep dive into Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins.
Oh, yeah.
It's
This is a good one.
Yeah, and we've got an interesting mix of sources for this one. A personal review that I found that I thought had some really powerful takeaways.
Yeah.
And then some YouTube summaries, too, that kind of round out Goggins' life and his story.
Yeah. What I think is fascinating about Goggins is that it's not just about these incredible physical feats.
Right.
It's really a story about how he built incredible mental toughness from a very, very difficult starting point.
Yeah, and that starting point is his childhood.
Yeah.
And, when you read about his childhood,
Quite brutal.
It was, poverty, abuse from his father, racism. I mean, it's almost hard to believe that somebody could come out of that and achieve what he did.
It's incredible.
Yeah, the book review mentions his mom, Jackie,
Yeah.
escaping that abusive marriage and kind of supporting him later on. It sounds like she played a crucial role in his life.
Absolutely. You see the impact of that early trauma on Goggins throughout his life. He actually was later diagnosed with something called toxic stress.
Oh, wow.
Which is essentially the long-term effects of experiencing intense adverse events as a child.
Oh, wow.
It can lead to learning difficulties, anxiety, all sorts of challenges.
Wow, that puts things into perspective.
It does.
So, how does somebody go from that kind of childhood to becoming a Navy SEAL?
Right.
The YouTube summaries talk about him working as an exterminator at 300 pounds, feeling totally stuck, and then seeing a Navy SEAL documentary. And that just flipped the switch in his mind.
Right. Isn't that amazing? He decides he wants to be a SEAL. And to even qualify, he had to lose over 100 pounds in 3 months.
Yeah.
Just to qualify.
It's crazy.
It's just incredible. That's where you see that willpower and self-motivation come in.
Yeah.
He had this clear why, this vision of who he wanted to be.
Right.
And that fueled everything he did.
And this is where he starts developing these techniques that, even though they might seem a little extreme, actually offer some really valuable lessons for all of us.
Yeah.
He came up with this thing called the accountability mirror.
Okay.
It was basically he would write down all of his goals on Post-it notes and just plaster them all over his mirror so that he couldn't avoid seeing them every single morning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's such a powerful visual reminder.
Totally.
Right. You're confronted with your goals every day, no escaping them.
Yep.
What I find interesting is how this simple technique can be applied to anyone's life.
Yeah.
Think about your own goals. How could you use something like an accountability mirror to keep yourself motivated?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's all about finding what works for you, that system to kind of keep you on track.
Exactly.
Then there's this other concept that he talks about.
Okay.
Taking souls. It sounds pretty intense.
It does.
And the summaries mention that he used this during Hell Week in SEAL training
Oh, yeah.
to kind of flip the script on the instructors who are trying to break them down.
But what he's doing is taking control of his emotional response to negativity.
Right.
So imagine being in that intense pressure cooker environment of Hell Week.
Oh, my gosh.
It would be so easy to just crumble under the instructor's relentless negativity.
Yeah.
Goggins chose to harness that energy and to use it as fuel to push himself and his team forward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's such a different way of looking at it.
Yeah.
And that leads perfectly into Goggins's crazy foray into ultra running.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we're talking about a guy who completed a 100-mile race with hardly any training while battling injuries.
Wow.
He even went on to conquer the Badwater 135, which is considered one of the toughest ultramarathons in the world.
It's mind-blowing. What's incredible is that Goggins wasn't like a natural-born runner.
Yeah.
He had to train his mind just as much as his body. This is where his famous 40% rule comes in. This is the idea that when our minds are telling us we're done, we've actually only tapped into about 40% of our true potential. Think about that. We all have these limits that we place on ourselves, these mental barriers that hold us back.
Right.
What if we're capable of so much more than we think?
That's a pretty powerful concept.
That is.
So, how do we even begin to tap into that other 60%?
Right. It almost feels superhuman.
Yeah.
Goggins isn't saying we all need to become ultra runners or Navy SEALs.
Right.
But he is challenging us to find our own personal 40% rule challenges.
Yeah.
Those goals that push us beyond our comfort zones.
Right.
And force us to confront those self-imposed limitations.
Yeah.
He talks about building a cookie jar.
Okay.
Which is essentially a mental store of past triumphs and positive memories that you can draw on during those moments when you want to quit.
It's like building up a mental reserve of resilience, right?
Yeah.
Things like having those reminders that you've overcome tough challenges before so you can do it again.
Yeah.
Which I think leads us to something that, we all struggle with.
Yeah.
Failure. But Goggins doesn't see failure as something to fear.
Right.
He actually embraces it.
That's right. He sees it as a sign that you're pushing your boundaries, that you're stepping outside your comfort zone.
Right.
And most of us, we try to avoid failure at all costs, but Goggins views it as data, as feedback that helps us learn and grow.
Okay. So we've talked about his difficult childhood, his incredible transformation into a Navy SEAL, his ultra running achievements.
Right.
But there's still so much more to unpack. This guy is a walking, talking example of pushing limits, both physical and mental.
He is.
There's one story that really stands out to me.
You mean the pull-up world record?
Exactly. This is where we see his uncommon amongst uncommon mindset in action.
Yeah.
So Goggins went after that world record with everything he had.
He did.
But get this, he failed.
Yeah.
Not once, but twice.
Nice.
Talk about a setback.
Yeah.
Most people would just give up at that point.
But not Goggins.
Oh, not Goggins.
He saw those failures as opportunities to learn, to refine his approach.
Right.
And on his third attempt, he shattered the world record, completing over 4,000 pull-ups in 17 hours.
I can't even imagine doing that many pull-ups in a week, let alone 17 hours.
It's insane.
It's insane.
That's where his uncommon mindset really shines through.
Right.
He's constantly pushing himself, seeking out new challenges to conquer.
Yeah, and what's so inspiring is that he believes that this drive to excel isn't something you're born with. It's something you cultivate, something you build through consistent effort and a willingness to embrace discomfort.
Absolutely.
He even has a specific technique for maximizing time, which he lays out as like a 3-week challenge.
Yeah.
Oh, I've heard about this, and I'm terrible at managing my time.
Okay.
Like, I always feel like there aren't enough hours in the day. So what's the secret? Tell me everything.
Well, the first week is all about awareness. Goggins says you need to track every single thing you do throughout the day and how long you spend on it. When do you work? When do you sleep? When do you scroll through social media? Be brutally honest with yourself.
It sounds a little daunting, but I guess you can't fix what you don't measure right.
Exactly.
So where do you go from there?
Well, in week 2, you start blocking out your time in 15 to 30-minute increments.
Okay.
Every single activity gets its designated slot, and you stick to it as closely as possible.
Wow.
It sounds rigid, but it forces you to prioritize and get rid of those time-wasting black holes in your day.
Like that hour that I spend scrolling through my phone before bed when I should be sleeping.
Exactly.
Yeah, I could definitely see the value in that.
Yeah.
So by week 3, you've basically got your life running like a well-oiled machine.
Identified where you're wasting time, and you've learned to be more intentional with every minute.
Goggins believes this level of self-discipline is essential for achieving any goal, big or small.
You know, we've talked a lot about his physical feats and mental toughness, but there's also this deeper message about the power of our minds.
Absolutely.
Like, he wasn't born a super athlete.
Right.
He built himself mentally and physically.
Brick by brick.
Brick by brick. That's a good way of putting it.
Yeah.
It's true.
Goggins' story transcends the physical realm.
Yeah.
It's a testament to the power of belief, self-discipline, and the human spirit's ability to overcome seemingly impossible obstacles.
And he's really challenging us to confront those limiting beliefs that we hold about ourselves, those invisible barriers that we erect in our own minds that keep us from reaching our full potential.
Yeah.
What's really cool is that he provides this framework, this set of tools and principles, but he encourages us to find what works for us, to personalize that journey of self-discovery.
Absolutely. And it's not about becoming a Navy SEAL or an ultramarathon runner, right?
It's about finding your own personal 40% rule challenge. That thing that scares you a little.
Okay.
That pushes you beyond your comfort zone.
Yeah.
It could be learning a new skill, finally writing that book you've always dreamed of, or simply showing up for yourself in a way that you haven't before.
It's about taking those small steps outside our comfort zones.
Exactly.
And proving to ourselves that we're capable of so much more than we think. And I think what's so inspiring about Goggins is that he doesn't shy away from the struggle.
No.
He's honest about the pain, the doubt, the moments when he wanted to quit,
He's very honest about that.
Yeah.
But he shows us that we have the power to choose our response to those challenges.
Right.
We can let them break us, or we can use them to become stronger, more resilient versions of ourselves.
This has been an incredibly inspiring deep dive.
It has.
Goggins' story really pushes you to think about what you're capable of achieving
It does.
when you break free from those self-imposed limitations. But there's one more piece of his story that I think we need to explore.
You mean how he dealt with the news that his running career was over?
Yes.
Yeah.
After achieving all that incredible success in ultra running, he was diagnosed with a serious heart condition.
Right.
I can't even imagine what that must have been like for
I
him.
know. It would have been so easy for him to just give up,
Right.
to let that diagnosis define him.
Yeah.
But Goggins, being Goggins, didn't let it stop him.
That's what's so incredible about his story.
It is.
It's not just about achieving these superhuman feats.
No.
It's about that unwavering spirit, the refusal to be broken by setbacks.
Right.
He could have easily fallen into despair after that diagnosis.
Yeah.
But instead, he used it as fuel to find new ways to challenge himself,
Yes.
to prove that mental toughness can overcome physical limitations.
Absolutely.
He talks about this idea of callousing the mind,
Yeah.
which basically means building up this resilience to pain and discomfort, both physical and emotional. It's like he's constantly pushing himself to the edge
Right.
to see what he's truly capable of.
Yeah, and that's such a powerful lesson for all of us.
Yeah.
We all face setbacks, challenges, moments where we want to give up.
Right.
But Goggins' story shows us that we have a choice.
Right.
We can let those moments define us, or we can use them as opportunities to grow, to become stronger.
It's about reframing our relationship with failure, seeing it not as an ending, but as a stepping stone on the path to growth.
I love that.
Yeah. Goggins reminds us that the most important battles are often fought within our own minds.
It's true.
It's about conquering that inner voice of doubt and fear
Absolutely.
and proving to ourselves that we're capable of so much more than we think. This deep dive has been incredibly eye-opening.
It has.
Goggins' story is a powerful reminder that we all have that inner strength,
We do.
that capacity to push beyond our perceived limit. It's just a matter of tapping into it. So as we wrap up, I would love to hear from you.
Yes.
What resonated with you most from Goggins' story? What's your personal 40% rule challenge? Leave a comment below.
Leave a comment below and let us know.
Let us know. And hey, if you enjoyed this deep dive, subscribe for more insightful content like this. We're always looking for new books to explore.
Absolutely.
So feel free to drop your suggestions in the comments as well. Until next time, keep diving deep. And remember, you are capable of more than you think.
Absolutely.